Have you ever felt that something was missing from your life? Once upon a time, you were happy, excited, had a style, had a purpose. Where did it go? I'm your host, Alex Dawson. Welcome to the Live It Formula, where I want to help you feel great again. Welcome to the very first episode of the Live It Formula. I am so excited to be sharing this with you. So, really, I just want to give you a little bit of background on how the Live It Formula came about, who I am, and what we're doing here. And the whole purpose of the Live It Formula is to help everyday people live their lives, to live a happy and healthy lifestyle. And, there are lots of things that happen in life. They can be huge, they can be tiny, but they all affect each person in a very different way. If you followed me for a while, you will know that one of the things I like to talk about is twins. So when twins are born, and specifically I'm talking about identical twins, everything about them is the same. And on the outside, okay, so they look identical, they may even grow at the same rates, but what happens is, as those twins grow up, they leave home, they have their own lives, they can live very different lifestyles, and so therefore they can become very different. And I don't know if you know any twins, but if you do, as they've got older, do they still look the same? Like we become our lifestyle. So it's not just what we eat and what we do that affects our bodies. It's also our environments, the things that we listen to, how we further develop ourselves, and all those kinds of things. So there isn't one thing fits all. There just isn't. There are guidelines that people can follow, but it's the same as diets. I don't like diets. The first three letters spell die. But we do need to use that term for a healthy eating program. It is a diet. What we eat is a diet. But it's that, one person may work on a higher protein, someone else might be better on carbs, someone else might be better, someone may require a gluten-free diet or a dairy-free diet. You may have, maybe a celiac. There are all sorts of different things, so the same food groups and the same foods aren't going to suit everybody. The only things I can say that would suit the majority of people is a clean diet. And what I mean by that is not processed. So that's just one example. In my story is, over the last 30 years has kind of been a bit crazy. So it was my 50th birthday earlier on this year. Well, actually, it was a month ago yesterday. So I was 50 on the 6th of October. And it really put a lot of things in perspective for me. And I don't know if any of you listening can relate to this, but my 20s were, well, my teenage years were living. They very much were living. I was a bit of a rebellious child. I got my first job late in my teens, and very quickly realised that I definitely wanted a career. I was very ambitious. And then from there, my 20s went, my 21st year was probably, the end of that was one of my worst. I lost my brother. He was only 18 years old. He stole my car. I didn't know he took my car. He didn't have a license. And it was, and still is one of the most traumatic times of my life, but it's how you deal with that. So I now suffer with PTSD from that, and, the events that happened at the time and after. But it's how you deal with things and situations and pick yourself back up. Doesn't mean to say you have to forget and you don't have the pain, but there is life after that. And I don't know if you can see. So I have the Live It Formula logo, which is still subject to change. But one of the taglines for that is life after, like there is life after. Another part of my story is I lost my job. So I'd worked for a global blue chip company. I'd given them the best part of my career. I just loved my job so much. I lived to work. I didn't work to live, which is what most people obviously do. And I was on maternity leave. One of my directors called me one morning. Actually, it was the 9th of January 2009. And he said I didn't have a job anymore. And I just thought this is just some sort of very unfunny joke. But it turned out he was telling the truth. The company had gone into administration. Now, I didn't see this coming. I'd been on maternity for 7 weeks. I was doing appraisals, working out budgets for the following year, even though I wasn't supposed to be there. But I was so committed to my job and I wanted everything to be done right. And I wasn't the only person that lost their job that day. There were 96,000 of us. 96,000. That is a lot of people. That is a lot of people. So as I mentioned, it was a global blue chip company. And that ruined a lot of people's lives. You stopped people taking their pensions, or their pension pot wasn't big enough. Lots of different things. So I decided that I was still going to take my full year's maternity. So, we just negotiated around that, navigated that. And I then decided just before my year was up that I was going to apply for some jobs. I applied for over 1,000 jobs. 1,000 jobs. One of my interviews was in Edinburgh. I actually don't know what I would have done had I got that job. But I had the same pushback. And I know, okay, that was nearly 20 years ago. I don't think times have changed that much. And every interview I had, they wanted to know whether I was going to have more children. I'm like, no, I'm not. But what business was it of theirs anyway? The world we live in, it's quite nasty and cutthroat. So that kind of but that wasn't working. I mean, I remember being on one of the train platforms at Canary Wharf, funny enough, on the phone to my mum, absolutely livid, shouting down the phone on the platform that the person I just had an interview with was just so awful. But anyway, we got over that. And how I got over that, I got over that. How I got over that is I just decided from that moment, I did not want anyone else being responsible for my future. I didn't want someone else telling me whether I had a job or didn't have a job, whether I was going to be bringing money home at the end of the month or I wasn't, irrespective of how many hours I put in. I mean, I think, my commute was 8 hours a day. So 4 hours to work, 4 hours back. I had to travel the M25. And most of that time was spent on there. Some nights I just slept at the office because it wasn't worth it. I wasn't finishing work some nights until 10 o'clock. So it wasn't worth coming home. Um, but what for what? For what? What was the reason behind that? Well, it was benefiting me, I guess, in some ways. Um, but it wasn't financially. It was just an easier solution for me. But I wanted to be the one that said, I'm working today, I'm not working today. I did not want that to be I didn't want someone to have that power over me. And so I have spent since then, so the last 16 years, I have spent creating my own businesses, my own platforms, supporting other people. Um, my husband and I have amazing businesses together. I have businesses on my own. He has businesses on his own. And we've kind of created our own lifestyle around probably our hobbies. Well, not probably our hobbies, around our hobbies. And now I am so passionate about helping other people know that we are not our circumstances. They don't define, and nobody other than ourselves define who we actually are. That's completely down to us. Like, no one else says this is what we're doing. You decide. You decide. I mean, I could talk for a lot of things. I mean, to really give you a good idea of other things that have happened in my life, and what gives me the right to talk to you about different things, to help you create your own formula for living a life of true abundance, where you are being completely true to yourself, where you're finding your happiness, where you're really truly feeling great again. Like, when was the last time you really felt great? And really, it's all the experiences. So massive loss and trauma with grief in my life. And there's so much more, there's so much more to that. Maybe I will cover that in an episode. So there's the loss of my brother. He was also my best friend. So much of that was just so raw, and elements of it still are. I was in a marriage that I shouldn't have been in. Wasn't working. It didn't last very long at all. Less than 2 months. And to walk away from that when other people were telling me that I shouldn't, was tough. But again, I'm the one in control of that situation. I'm the one that has to live that every day, not those people. I then lost my job, lost my career. And that came with a whole load of other challenges. And that will be one of the episodes that I talk about. And that was really tough. And then it's trying to redefine yourself. Oh, and before that, I probably should have had written a bit of a timeline. But after my brother died, I didn't know how to cope with life without him. Like, we did everything together. And we were 3.5 years apart, but we did everything together. And so I changed my name. I changed my Christian name. So I was Debbie, or Deborah was my christened name. And then I changed it. I changed it on the 14th of November, 1996. So technically, I'm going to be 28. So you can say I'm 50 or I'm 28. It's up to you. I'm definitely going to have a 30th in 2026. So so I'll send you an invite to that. But I changed my name because I didn't know how. That was my coping mechanism. So yeah, like, if ever you've changed your name or done something like that, please do drop me a message. I've not met many people that have changed their Christian names. so that happened. Then I lost my job. Um, my husband um, was my boss. That had a number of issues around it. He also had a family already. He had children already. I didn't. I never wanted children, and it's that thing of, okay, I'm bringing up someone else's children every other weekend. My 25 days holiday that I had every year, I was spending the majority of that with those children. So theoretically, I might as well look after my own children. Um, so we had our own child. And the thing is, I don't like, there is nothing about my life. I mean, obviously apart from my brother passing, but there is nothing about my life that I would go back and actually change, because yes, there's been some hard times and there's been some really, really hard times, but there's been some epic times, and getting over hurdles and barriers. And, I have the best family anyone could ever wish for. They are epic. Things can be amazing. And that's why I wanted to create this platform, because I know at times I have been in the absolute pits, and there are days when you just think, am I going to come out the other side? And you do. There is always something that is gonna you just find something to pick yourself up. Just, I've had businesses that haven't done as well as I thought, but I may have thrown a small pity party. But the thing is, nothing is a failure in life. These things are just lessons. And they're lessons because we learn. It doesn't mean we're a failure. It doesn't mean we've not succeeded. It just means we've learned a lesson and we can try again. And if there's anything you'd like me to talk about, please do drop me a message. So until then, take care.